Hey, I'm Ron Dichter, and welcome back to another episode of Projecting Grandeur. I want to thank everybody that has been tuning in and anyone that has liked and shared and commented and all those great things. Thanks so much. Can't get the word out there without all of you helping to share. So hope you're getting great value out of this and look forward to continuing to do it. Today I want to talk about the journey of starting a business, but not so much starting a business. It's really taking a business from a small business into a, call it a medium or a medium-sized business. There's a lot of conversation out there about the startup life and what it takes to start a business. And specifically as it relates to projecting grandeur, starting a business is definitely hard, and you have to be able to project to the world, something bigger than what you are at that moment, because you're nothing, right? You're a startup. But what a lot of people don't tell you is making the shift from a startup business to a small business is actually, in my opinion, easier than going from a small startup business into a medium or a small medium business. And let me just tell you why, and why projecting grandeur in this concept is so important. But if you think about it, when you are a startup business, there are no expectations, right? Most startups fail. And if you made it past the beginning, well, you've done a lot of the hard work already, because most small businesses fail. But if you think about the perception of your future customers, your current and future team members, when you're a startup, your expectations are low. Yes, you are telling the world that you're going to do amazing things, and you're telling your potential customers all these great things that you're going to accomplish. But the reality is that the vast majority of small businesses fail within their first 5 years. And so, saying that you're going to go do these amazing things, it's taken with a grain of salt, because you are a startup business. And while they want to, be supportive in, helping your business grow, at the same time, they know that they're just saying this stuff because they don't know that, because they haven't actually started yet. They're just getting going. But when you make that shift from a business that's past that startup, you're a small business, you've made it past that hurdle of, am I going to make it or not? And now I'm going to become this, larger small business or even medium-sized business. What's happened now is that the expectations have changed, because no longer are you, questioning whether or not you're going to make it as a business. Now it's, can you compete with the much larger, more established businesses? Because you're not the darling anymore. You're not the, in the honeymoon period anymore. You're an actual business at this point, and people are now coming to you because they expect you to be able to deliver the product, service, event, whatever it is you're doing, and it needs to be on par with your competitors, which at this point are no longer startup businesses, and you're not aspirationally hoping to be on that level. You are now there. And so now being able to project grandeur is much harder to do, because the expectations have raised as well. And so a lot of people talk how hard it is to go and get a startup off the ground, which it is. We've talked a lot about that, and there is definitely no shortage of work and effort that is required for you to be able to do that. But to go from that small startup business now to a medium business, and then the expectations that follow, become very important. And so as you start making that journey from small business and climbing that, that ladder and starting to compete against larger and more established companies, what you really need to do now is your projecting grandeur has to be based on things that have actually happened, right? It's no longer about, conjecture and hyperbole of what you are going to do. It's now, look at what we've done with, call it constrained resources, call it, a small staff, or a insignificant, product in the beginning because it was just being fleshed out. Now you use what you've been able to do with nothing, and you use that story to show the trajectory of how you get to that next level. So if you went from let's just use an example, let's say you started a business with $25,000, you had a bunch of team members that were working for nothing or even on commission, and you were able to grow that business to, let's just say, $1 million in revenue. And now instead of having 0 customers, let's say you have 50 customers. Well, now you use what you've been able to do with nothing, and you use that to help, sell the story of projecting grandeur of what you're going to become, and why now you've got the pedigree, the experience, the established processes that you can now take that business to the next level and not only compete against these larger, more established, probably more well-funded competitors of yours, but now how you can actually beat them because you've been able to show what you've been able to do with nothing. And now that you've got something, now that you've got some customers, now that you've got some revenues coming in, look at what you can do now. And I think that that's an important part of the entrepreneurial story that we don't often talk about, which is basically chase your wins. When you have success, use that success as your own case study to showcase to the world what it is that you're going to be able to do next. And so as you're going through this journey, I just encourage anybody who's making that shift from small business and they want to kind of go up a level, you've got to remember what got you there, how you got there, what you did to get there, and use that as a testament to your own strength, your own success. And now with these bigger resources, these more established processes, this is how you're going to go up market and be competitors with the much larger, more established businesses. So that middle section is super important for you to be able to continue that journey. So short one today, but I just want to make sure everybody out there who's going on their entrepreneurial journey knows that when you make that shift from small to mid-sized business, you've got to use your successes, you've got to use your wins as a way to showcase what you're capable of doing and still projecting grandeur of how much greater you can be as a business because of what you've already been able to do with so little. So hope you found this helpful. Please, again, like, comment. It would mean the world to me if you shared this with people that you think would benefit from it as well. And go out there and have a great day. Thanks so much for listening.